Are you looking for a budget destination or a budget weekend break in Europe? Well, this video is perfect for you because I'm going to reveal my top 5 favorite budget destinations that I have visited in Europe. Now, before I do go into my specific list, I'm always interested to hear your opinion. So do comment below what your favorite budget destinations were that you visited in Europe. Places where you were both impressed by the prices you were paying and the actual city itself and the things to do. But anyway, let's get into my list. And my list is in no particular order. The first city in the list is going to be Sarajevo, the capital of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Now, Sarajevo is one of Europe's most affordable capitals. Prices for accommodation and food are really good. It is cheaper than other nearby major capitals like Belgrade and Zagreb, but it's not just the prices for me, it's the fact that Sarajevo is one of the most interesting destinations in all of Europe, in my opinion. It's such a melting pot of cultures. You have the Ottoman Islamic history, you got the Austrian history, and you can see that from the architecture. And also, a lot of people don't realize, but Sarajevo was the birthplace of World War I. It's where Franz Ferdinand was killed. Of course, many people know about Bosnia and Sarajevo for the wars in the 80s and the 90s and the genocide. There are lots of really good museums in the city. I recommend a museum called the War Childhood Museum, and there's another one as well called the Museum of Genocide and Crimes Against Humanity. Word of warning, those museums are quite graphic and quite emotional, but they are definitely worth it. If you want to learn more about the history, I recommend this tour here, this Yugoslav Wars tour. You get taken to the Tunnel Museum. You see, the thing about this tour and other tours that you can book in Bosnia is that everyone in the country was somehow affected by the genocide and the wars. So your tour guides and perhaps your accommodation hosts will be able to give you real, true family stories from the time. So a trip to Sarajevo certainly can be a tough one, but certainly a trip that is worth it in my view. As I said, the prices are great, the history is so interesting, the people are so friendly, the food is really good. So definitely go to Sarajevo if you've not already been. Now, just a little honorable mention, if you are planning a trip to Bosnia and Herzegovina, you may want to also check out and visit the city of Mostar. That's where you'll find the famous old bridge. It's really beautiful, and it's just as affordable, if not more affordable than Sarajevo, but it is definitely smaller than Sarajevo and maybe not as interesting. So that's why I picked Sarajevo for this list, just because I personally found it more interesting. But wherever you go in Bosnia and Herzegovina, you're going to enjoy it. It is definitely one of the most interesting and best countries to visit in Europe for me. So now let's move on to the second city in my list. The next budget destination that I really like in Europe is actually Tirana, Albania. Now, if I am going to be honest, I do think Tirana is not as good as Sarajevo, and I definitely prefer Sarajevo as a city to visit. But you may find it easier to get to Tirana, Albania compared with Bosnia, because Sarajevo airport is not as well connected as Tirana airport. But of course, that's not just the only reason why I put Tirana in this list. I put Tirana in this list because it's a really cool city. It's a very vibrant place. There's a nice atmosphere to the city. It's a really unique place. It's one of the few cities I've been to in Europe where it just doesn't feel European at all. It's a very fascinating culture in the sense that the language is totally unique. You've got the Islamic and Ottoman influence too. There are lots of nice restaurants and bars and cafes. I really did like the cafe culture there. Definitely try the Albanian birek, and certainly try the fegeze. It's basically a cottage cheese stew. You can have meat inside it or peppers. Probably the most famous touristy activity to do in the city would be to go to the Bunk Art Museum. It's a bunker where all the communist politicians used to hide it during the communist dictatorship, but now it's converted into a history museum. Albania certainly is a country growing in popularity. I definitely want to go to Gjirokastra in the south of the country. It looks really beautiful, as you can see here. But as for Tirana, I would call it an alternative city break because it's not the most touristy place in the world, but it's a very quirky city. The prices are really good. Accommodation and food is very cheap. The city just has a really great energy that you don't find in many Western European destinations. So if you are looking for a weekend break to a city that isn't touristy and is much more local, definitely consider Tirana, Albania. Now, the third European budget destination in my list is going to be a city in Romania, specifically the city of Brasov, and it is one of the most beautiful cities I think I've ever been to. The old town is full of beautiful, colourful architecture. You can go up to Mount Tampa, you get a really nice view across the entire city. Brasov was a little more expensive than both Tirana and Sarajevo from my experience, but still cheaper than Bucharest and still pretty affordable. I really like the Romanian food. My two favourite things to eat, you've got to try the michi sausages. They're really tasty, and also also the Romanian donuts. They're the best donuts in the world, I promise you. Now, you have two very famous castles nearby Brasov that you can visit. You have Bran Castle, which is supposedly Dracula's castle, which is where supposedly Dracula was based from. You have Peles Castle as well. If you would like to book a tour going to both of the same castles on the same day on a day tour, you can book this trip here. Like the trip in Sarajevo, I have put the link to this tour in the description and the comment section, so just go below, click the link below if you are interested in booking this tour. If you do have the time, it probably is better to do the different castles on different days because they are located on different sides of the city. But if you are short on time, book this tour here. And if you don't want to book the tour, I actually made a video on giving you instructions on how you get from Brasov bus station to Bran Castle, because you can take the bus. It's a lot cheaper to take the bus. So the instructions are in this playlist here. Just go to my channel, go to my Brasov playlist, you'll see the video here. Now, there are some other budget-friendly destinations in Romania that you may wish to check out, such as Cebu, very pretty city, though I do think Brasov is better if I'm going to be honest. I also went to Cluj, Romania's second biggest city. It's probably a better city for entertainment options because it is a student city and it's bigger than Brasov, but definitely more pricey, one of the most pricey places in the entire country. Two other cities in Romania that I've not been to yet are Oradea and Timișoara. If you've been there, comment below and let me know if you liked both of those cities because they do look really nice and budget friendly too. But as for Brasov, great architecture, great food, great things to do. It's budget friendly, so Brasov is definitely in my top 5 favorite budget friendly European destinations. Now, moving on to the 4th city on my list, we're going to go to Poland now. Lublin, Poland makes my list. Now, Lublin is just as beautiful, if not even more beautiful than Brasov. The architecture is absolutely stunning. I've been to all of the major Polish destinations: Warsaw, Krakow, Gdansk, Wrocław, and Lublin, even though it's smaller, it is definitely more beautiful than all of them in my opinion. Plus, it's cheaper than all of those Polish cities that I just mentioned. Just take a day to walk around the cobbled streets and admire the colourful buildings and architecture. There's also a really nice castle you can go to as well. Now, one of the most interesting things you can do in Lublin is to go to the Majdanek Museum. The Majdanek Museum tells you all about the Majdanek concentration camp, which was a German concentration camp located there during the Second World War, so you can learn more about the history. You can also use Lublin as a base to take day trips to other places in the east of Poland, such as Zamość. Go onto Google, type in Zamość, you will see it's an extremely beautiful city. East of Poland is just a very underrated part of Poland in my opinion. It's cheaper than many other parts of Poland. The architecture is extremely beautiful. The people are very friendly. Polish food is really good as well. I'm a big fan of Polish food. So definitely check out Lublin if you've not already been. You will enjoy it. So now it's time to move on to the 5th and final city in this list of my favorite budget European destinations. Now, certainly hit the like button if you are enjoying this video so far. I do hope you are. Now, before I give you my 5th city in this list, I just want to share with you some cities that I have heard are good budget destination cities, but I've not personally been to, because of course I've not been to every single city in Europe. Now, 2 countries I've not been to are Kosovo and North Macedonia. I'm particularly interested to go to Prizren, Skopje and Ohrid. So if you have been to those cities or those 2 countries, do comment below. Do let me know, did you enjoy those cities and did you find these cities to be budget friendly? I've also not been to the Caucasus countries as well, so Armenia, Georgia, Azerbaijan. There is a debate as to whether they're even European countries in the first place. They are countries on my list and I'm interested to hear your views if you have been to them. But the 5th city in my list of European budget cities is actually going to be Granada, Spain. Now, Granada is one of my favorite cities in Spain, if not my favorite city in Spain. The architecture is beautiful. Granada is a really vibrant and buzzing city. Lots of students because it is a big student city. Have lots of cafes and bars. Of course, you have the famous Alhambra Palace. Please, please, please book your tickets weeks and weeks in advance, because if you don't, you probably won't be able to get a ticket. I love the fact that you have this real mixture of Spanish culture, Arabic, Moorish culture, and you see that both in the architecture and the food, because you find a lot of Moroccan cuisine in restaurants in Granada. And speaking of food, the food is probably one of the best, if not the best things about Granada. The tapas culture is incredible. It's probably got the best tapas culture in Spain, and that's because many of the tapas bars in Granada order serve free tapas. So every time you order a beer or a water, you get a free plate of food with that. Now, it's not every single tapas bar in Granada, so you do need to do your research, but many of them do give you free food. So that's why it's such a great budget destination, because you can save so much money by getting free tapas. Now, there are two tapas bars that I really recommend where you can get your free tapas. Firstly, La Riviera, and secondly, Bar La Citeria. Now, as you can imagine, both of these places are very popular, not just with tourists, but with locals as well. So do expect long queues. You may be waiting outside a very long time to get indoors, but once you get indoors and get your food served, you will certainly not regret it at all. Accommodation prices in Granada are also cheaper than most other places in Spain. The food's great, the architecture's great, the nightlife's great. It's budget friendly. There's nothing not to like about Granada. It's certainly going to be in my top 5. Now, I am going to give a little shout out as a bonus city to Plovdiv, Bulgaria. It's a very beautiful city, a lovely old town, great architecture, affordable. You will actually see a lot of ancient ruins throughout the city because Plovdiv is arguably the oldest continuously inhabited city in Europe. So you've got a lot of history there. To be honest, I don't think Plovdiv is as exciting and as vibrant as other cities in my list, which is why it doesn't quite make my top 5, but it's somewhere to certainly consider. Now, do let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with my list. Do you think my list is a good list? Do you think it's a bad list? As I said before, give me your list of favorite budget destinations in Europe. It will be interesting to see your views. Do hope you've enjoyed the video. Do hope you found it useful. Definitely subscribe to my channel for more travel videos if you have found this video useful. So thank you very much for watching. I will see you in my next video.